There were two armies, the Israelites, the good guys, and the Philistines, the bad guys. The biggest and baddest soldier for the Philistine army was Goliath. He was properly huge. He was 9 foot tall. That is about the height of this room. It's probably the height of your room. He was very tall. Every day Goliath would come and make fun of the Israelite army, who were too afraid to fight him. One day, David, who was a shepherd and he looked after the sheep that belonged to the family, he came to see his brothers, who were soldiers in the Israelite army. David heard Goliath making fun of his brothers and their friends. So he went to speak to the king and asked if he could fight for the Israelites. King Saul didn't think it was a good idea for David to fight Goliath because David was a really small boy. And Goliath had been a fighter for a long time and was very big, much bigger and stronger than David. But David said, "When a lion or a bear came to take my sheep, I would chase after them." And David saved the sheep from the mouth of the lions and bears. David had even killed lions and bears to save his sheep. And he said that Goliath was a bad guy. David said that God had saved him from the lion and the bear, and that he knew that God would save him from Goliath too. King Saul put his own clothes on David. He put a bronze helmet on David's head and an armour on his body. And David put on King Saul's sword and tried to walk around. David had never worn armour before. He was used to sandals and his clothes were more like a dressing gown than armour. After he had fallen down a few times, King Saul said he didn't have to wear the armour. David took his shepherd's stick and chose 5 smooth stones from a small river. David knew that he would be okay because he loved God and because he knew that God loved him. David went to fight Goliath. Goliath had a huge, long spear and a sword. When Goliath saw how tiny and small David was, he laughed and he made fun of him. David was not afraid. David didn't have a spear or a sword, but he had his sling and his 5 smooth stones which he had found in the river. David used his sling and killed Goliath. The Philistine army, the bad guys, were terrified. The Israelite army, the good guys, they were so happy.